How I love this pretty bed. Now I'll rest my weary head. Good night.
How's it going, everybody? Exhaustion Prime here. So, today we're talking about Andypants gaming again, and you're probably wondering to yourself, well, again? You talked about this guy before? Well, yeah, it was a few months ago when he first started his weird tirade of doing this anti-woke grift of his, and I will explain why it is a grift here in just a few moments, but it was a while back when he made his Who Killed Masculinity in Video Games video, which I decided to make fun of. Unfortunately, that video ended up getting ratioed, but I still had fun making it, and of course I do believe that my points were still extremely sound there. It was just because back then people were still, for some reason, taking the guy genuinely seriously for whatever reason, because, well, unfortunately, there's a lot of joyless pricks that exist. But of course, it seems like as of recently, Andypants Gaming has effectively just kind of shot himself in the foot, to no one's surprise, because, well, he decided to make the world's worst fucking hit piece, ended up debating Actman, and he ended up losing without Actman even needing to try, which is just, I cannot believe that you can actually manage to do something like that, but we'll be getting into a lot of that because there's a lot of funny things that ended up happening over the course of everything leading up to the fateful debate between him and Actman, because, well, there's a few other things that apparently, well, Mr. Andypants is genuinely pissed scared of his audience actually knowing. Well, one of those things that he's pissed scared of his audience knowing is that he's just nothing more than the quivering pussy that he claims that everybody else is. Which I guess at this point is just no one's surprise because, well, a lot of these idiots tend to project even more than a fucking hall of mirrors at this point. But of course you're probably wondering to yourself, well, he made a hit piece, how bad is this hit piece? I'm not going to go over the entire video. I'll leave a link to, like, Rince's videos and whatnot in the description below or so, because he goes over more of the video than I'm probably going to be getting into in this. I just kind of want to give you a general idea as to just how bad this fucking hit piece was, while also deconstructing that particular point, before we actually get into the funnier bits that make Andypants genuinely look like, well, again, a quivering fucking moron. So, of course, without any further ado, let us get into it. The video is titled Woke YouTubers, which, at least to my knowledge, it's still up on his channel, but I highly doubt that it's going to be up there by, I'd say, about the end of the week, considering that, well, right now, he's getting flamed to high hell right now.
So with every new video I make now, I'm like, probably gonna get canceled after this one. Oh well, here we go.
Yeah, of course, that kind of aged like milk, because, well, it seems like he is pissed scared of that possibility now.
So in this video, I want to talk about a disturbing pattern that I've begun to notice in some of our most celebrated YouTubers. I, like many people, was at one time a fan of the Actman, Skill Up, and Bellular.
Okay, I'm just gonna point this out right now. This has absolutely nothing to do with the video itself, but his fucking Elden Ring gameplay is complete goddamn ass. Like, if you're gonna be using gameplay, at least show yourself being semi-competent at the fucking game. Like, this literally looks like a drunk toddler is playing Elden Ring. Like, are you even actually trying? Or is Elden Ring too woke for you, so you didn't bother to put in any effort?
But as time has gone on, I've noticed a pretty upsetting trend in the content of all three of these guys. Have you noticed these three creators never call anything woke? And if they do, they're making fun of you for using the term?
Well, probably because calling things woke nowadays is like, it's kind of like the equivalent of calling things cringe at this point. Like, nobody will take you seriously if you call things woke or cringe. So, of course, you know, people are going to be looking at you like a fucking moron, and rightfully so. Hell, it's very good that these people will openly mock idiots like you that constantly call things woke. Like, you'll literally call a fucking rainbow in the sky, just the real world sky, as, like, the earth apparently going woke. That's how dumb you fucking are.
Have you noticed they never talk about the obvious uglification of women in games the past few years?
Oh no, my women aren't fucking porno material, therefore that means that video games are going downhill. Jesus fucking Christ. Honestly, put your pants back on whenever you decide to record these videos, man. I can sense the micro-penis in your hand.
Have you noticed they never talk about the LGBTQI_7 community and how they basically run video games right now?
Probably because that's not the actual legitimate problem with a lot of these games, and the actual problem with these games is literally about gameplay and whatnot, because that is primarily what the games are, which is gameplay. I know, it's a fucking shocking revelation to idiots like this, but, like, usually people play games for the gameplay, and not for, like, the visuals or the fact that the women don't look like fucking, like, you know, jerk-off material, or that the games are supposedly gay as hell right now. This man would melt if he fucking saw Celeste. Jesus Christ. Actually, hang on. Since I now know that Andypants watches all the videos that are made on him, let me quickly, and probably very briefly, change the gameplay to Celeste just so I can burn out his retinas. Yeah, how do you like that, you pussy?
Have you noticed they never point out obvious racism against white people? In fact, they'll often say lies like, racism against white people isn't possible.
I like how he makes this point, yet never shows a single fucking piece of evidence actually proving this point. Actually proving that any of these people had actually stated that racism against white people isn't an actual thing. Like, he doesn't show any evidence of this actually happening, he just makes this fucking claim without even bothering to back it up, which I guess is just par for the course for an average Andypants video now, isn't it?
Have you noticed none of them ever talk about the trillions of dollars companies make by bumping up their DEI and ESG initiatives and by putting evil, woke nonsense in their games?
Once again, I have to bring this up. It's because it's not a big part of why games end up fucking failing. And of course, if you were to look up DEI and ESG, they're honestly not the worst things on the fucking planet. Like, who the fuck actually gives a shit?
Have you noticed they never talk about the complete removal of masculinity from video games?
Oh no, I need my big buff oily men on screen. Dude, at this point, just admit that you're gay, alright? Like, you talk about men and masculinity in video games so fucking much that I wouldn't be surprised if you are just gay as hell, or at the very least, maybe bi, alright? Like, dude, just admit it.
So why? Why are these three dudes intentionally avoiding calling out wokeness in games? To put it simply, it's because these dudes are cucks.
Yep, that's the fucking line that everybody knows from this video, where he just decides to call these guys cucks, which I find to be extremely funny and bitterly ironic because, well, I mean, he ends up turning out to be the biggest cuck on planet Earth, especially over this past week.
They're pussies. All three of these guys are definitely voting for Kamala Harris in November. I heard Endymion call him Ackmam one time, and the label definitely fits. So those are the surface level reasons. I'll get to the deeper reasons in a minute.
By the way, just for those of you who are wondering, no, he does not elaborate any further on that particular point right there. He just decides to claim, well, without even bothering to actively say it, that he thinks that for some reason these people are like insiders at Activision for whatever reason. Despite the fact that, again, all three of them have probably called out Activision, Blizzard, and probably every other AAA studio under the sun, probably even more often than you have, and for legitimate reasons.
I just watched an entire Actman video about Concord. I know, it was painful. It contained a lot of tired millennial jokes. I'm a millennial, by the way, takes one to know one. He talked a lot about low player numbers, he talked about how much money it wasted, and then when he gets to the part where you're supposed to talk about why the game failed, he just says, bad gameplay, bad character design. Why do you suppose Ackmam doesn't talk about the fact that Concord has 3 black females in it and not a single white man?
Funny that you actually decided to bring that up, because, well, this is where I get into the portion where I explain how he's grifting here, because he used to have another channel that went by the name of Andypants Xbox or something along those lines. The channel doesn't exist anymore, obviously, because, well, he ended up getting called out by another semi-large YouTuber for this, so of course he had to hide it as quickly as possible, so that way his audience didn't actually catch on that he was basically faking his really extremist beliefs, because on his old channel, Andypants Xbox, well, yes, he was still anti-woke to an extent. He was at least the kind that you could agree with. You know, basically, like, you know, minorities in games are fine as long as it is enforced. You know, something that even I could possibly agree with, you know, right? Like, he was perfectly fine with that. Hell, this is literally a comment thread in which he basically states that he's perfectly fine with black people existing in video games as long as it isn't just, like, for tokenism, which is, again, perfectly fine and perfectly reasonable. So what ended up happening? Well, at least according to the video that initially called him out for being a grifter, one of his videos on his now current channel, Andypants Games, you know, was somewhat in the realm of the anti-woke loser kind of video, and it ended up really popping off. So, you know, He basically only saw the dollar signs and immediately decided to remove every single thing that would basically make him look like a hypocrite, or at least to the best of his ability, he removed everything that would make himself look like a hypocrite, and then decided to really play into the anti-woke bigot baby grift, which basically means that he decided to effectively just become Synthetic Man 2.0 with the amount of weird fucking conspiracy theories that he decides to come up with. And funnily enough, my friend Rince actually ended up deciding to call him out on that one as well, which of course, well, the live stream in which this ended up happening is now completely deleted. What happened in that live stream, you're probably wondering to yourself? Well, not only did he get slapped around by Rince, but he also got slapped around by a couple of other people with fully functioning brains, to the point where, well, I guess he got really embarrassed that he ended up getting his ass handed to him by regular-ass people, that now the stream just doesn't actually exist anymore. But thankfully, Rince's segment still exists. We're going to be trying to go over that somewhat point by point here. I know that Rince stated that the clip itself just speaks for itself, but I feel like just really hammering it home and letting a lot of you guys know that this man is really just a pathetic excuse of a human being. Let's just get into this.
All right. Yo, what up? My audio sound good? Am I good?
Yep.
All right, cool. So I just wanted to ask your opinion. What do you think of internet grifters?
Is this because you're going to call me an internet grifter?
So this is literally how it starts. Rince just decides to ask a simple question about what is your thoughts on internet grifters, which of course is a number of different individuals that you could immediately come to mind. You know, people like Hassan, people probably like Vosh, people probably like some of the anti-woke crowd that probably don't actually believe in what it is that they're stating. You know, probably people like the Critical Drinker. I still cannot believe that that is an actual fucking YouTube name. That is an actual channel. Someone has unironically decided to base their entire personality off of their alcoholism. Like, how do you manage to do that? But, like, immediately, Andypants fucking goes onto the goddamn defense and goes, wait, is it because you're gonna be calling me a grifter? Like, dude, you're fucking playing yourself by saying this.
No. I'm not calling you an internet grifter. I just want to ask you, like, what do you think of people who fake, like, their opinions and stances on things in order for, like, money, views, ad revenue, clout? What do you think of those people?
So I think if you're talking about my old channel, I've always been anti-woke. I've always talked about woke stuff.
Again, how would you know that that is exactly what he's talking about? Once again, you just immediately decide to do this, and, well, imagine if Rince didn't actually know that the Andypants Xbox channel actually existed. This would make him curious and make him look up, wait, Andypants had a fucking previous account where he flip-flops on stuff? Oh my god, I need to look this up, and would get really curious that the channel doesn't exist anymore. Andypants, are you just stupid on purpose?
Okay, right.
So
well,
me personally, I've never changed my stance on that. I've changed my stance on Xbox because Xbox became gay as shit and is now pushing LGBTQ trash. And
right.
so I have changed my stance on Xbox within the past year. But if you were to pull up my old Xbox channel and I still had the videos up, you can see I always talked about woke stuff.
And yet he nuked all that stuff, and I really wonder why he did.
No, I know.
So I think,
but well, here's what I want to get to, right? So, in your most recent video where you call it Actman, Bellular, and Skillup, you mentioned that Actman is like, I don't remember what exactly you said, but some sort of like liberal left woke cuck. Because in their video, well, there's a plethora of reasons, but one of the reasons you brought up was he didn't talk about how Concord had 3 black females in it and 0 white men. But if we go to your old channel and then see a comment you reply to, you say you love black people in games. So I'm not really seeing the logical consistency there. Can you explain? Can you elaborate on that?
Oh, 100%, kiddo.
Jesus Christ, I can tell that he's panicking in this one. I'm sorry. I know it isn't really much, but I just have to bring up the fact that I can tell that he's panicking right now, because now he's just flinging out fucking nicknames out of nowhere. Dude.
I love diversity. I'm totally fine with diverse characters in games.
Yeah, you're perfectly fine with diversity until it's a black character or a gay character that appears on screen for more than 0.5 seconds. You know, kind of like a certain Synthetic Man.
But do you not see how 3 black women in a game and not a single white person is a little bit wacky?
I mean, it would be considered wacky if it was actually true, but no, there are in fact a couple of white characters that existed in Concord before it got shut down. I'm sorry that you had your eyes sewn shut when you actually decided to look at some of the character designs and whatnot, but like, yes, white characters did in fact fucking exist in that game. You just need to open up your fucking eyes.
I mean, I don't
can't
see how it's a
that?
point. I don't see how that's a thing worth bringing. Like, I don't
So
see
you
how
think
that's
it's weird. So you don't think it's a teensy bit weird to have 3 black women in a game and not a single white dude? You don't think that's like a little bit weird,
well, I think
considering like a lot of white dudes play games?
well, I think in that sense, what I think, right, is sure, that's weird. However, is it really a big enough talking point to be like, oh, well, this guy didn't mention this, so they're a woke liberal cuck pushing communist liberal agenda? Like, I don't see how that's like a big enough talking point to try and actively use that against another creator to try and call them woke and say, the corporations are using them as a mouthpiece.
Well, clearly everybody disagreed with you because they loved my video.
Oh my fucking god. He doesn't actually have a fucking argument to that. He doesn't have an argument to this is not as big of a deal as you think it is, so he just decides to pull out literal fucking Twitter logic by just going like, well, ratio. Like, that's effectively what he fucking said. God, what a baby!
Okay, well, now we're just arguing like numbers and whatever. Now we're just like, well, ratio. Is that we're using Twitter logic now?
Brother, what is the cuck chair like? Because
Once again, he just doesn't have a fucking point. He instead just resorts to fucking insults, which I guess really shouldn't be that much of a surprise, because, well, I can tell, I can fucking sense it from here. He is sweating his ass off right now, trying his best to not only focus on this game, but also focus on not making himself look even more like a dumbass than he already has within this fucking, like, conversation.
you sound like a leftist.
I mean, I guess if we're gonna, act like children here, I guess if we're gonna act like children here, then oh, he kicked me.
Right as Rince calls him out for acting like a child, that is, of course, when Andypants can't seem to handle, being called out, that he decided to kick Rince out of the fucking call. And that's effectively kind of where it ends. I think that Rince shows off more of his clip within his video, so once again, I'll leave a link to that down below. But this is apparently one of the few debates where, someone was actually against him, and in all the debates, at least from what I've heard of, where the person was actively pretty much against him, he ended up getting slapped around 10 ways to fucking Sunday, which is of course why that stream no longer exists, because it's an embarrassing look for him, and he knows that, which I think is, once again, one of the funniest goddamn things ever. But of course, that ends up leading into the fateful event, which was the Actman versus, Andypants debate livestream, which, mind you, for at least like the first 5 or 6 hours or so, the comments were, well, mysteriously turned off. I really wonder why they were turned off, Mr. Andypants. Is it because, well, now that you've turned the comments back on, you're now getting ripped a new one within the comments section because you decided to ultimately play yourself by thinking that you would actually win this debate after losing like 3 different debates in your last live stream? Like, dude, I just find that to be extremely funny that he legitimately thought that this would play out well for him, and now he's effectively just kind of turned himself into a bit of a lolcow, if you will. Like, he's just turned himself into even more of a joke than he already was, which I just, again, I guess it really isn't that much of a surprise. After all, these anti-woke losers can't seem to go 5 seconds without making themselves look like the butt of every single joke. But anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please consider leaving a like. It's very well appreciated. Leave a comment down below what you thought about the video, what you want me to talk about next, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new and you want to see more content such as this. Also, go ahead and follow me on Twitter and join the Discord server down below if you feel like doing so. I also have channel memberships now if you feel like throwing me $5. I'll figure out what to do with it at some point here in the near future, when I actually have a more consistent upload schedule. And yeah, anyways guys, this has been Sadie, and have yourselves a nice day.